with the announcements. For those watching tonight's meeting virtually, the meeting is available to live stream via the Park District website. All information about Park District meetings can be found at winpark.org under the Park District Info tab by selecting Board Meetings plus Videos. Public comment is accepted in person. A link to the video and audio will be posted immediately following this evening's meeting. To improve the sound while listening to the meeting, turn up the volume on your computer and turn up the volume on the website. The meeting packet for tonight's meeting is located on the website. For those attending tonight's meeting, the emergency exits from the room are the door behind you or through the foyer. To improve the quality of sound, there's a boom microphone located in the corner directed towards the commissioners. The microphone will pick up additional audience noise and side conversations, so if it's difficult to hear, please feel free to move to the front row. This is a business meeting and not a sporting event, so we ask for your cooperation to maintain decorum. There's no clapping or booing, and please be considerate and refrain from interrupting board members and other speakers. We're a community coming together to discuss difficult issues in a civil and respectful fashion. May I have the opening roll call, please?
Commissioner James?
Here.
Commissioner Lesson?
Here.
Commissioner Rapp? Here. Commissioner Root?
Present.
Commissioner Tyson?
Here.
Commissioner Cotto?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. May I have a motion to include James Hemmings by phone due to illness?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. That's a roll call.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Lesson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Cotto?
Yes. Thank you very much. So we're calling to order the November 14th, 2024 special board meeting. Thank you very much. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public announcements, Shannon?
Of course. So please bring your family and friends to the Winnetka Ice Arena tomorrow for a morning of ice skating while the kids are out of school. The Winnetka Parks Foundation is hosting a family public skate as a fundraiser to benefit the Park District. Admission is $10 and includes rental skates for the session from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. You can register online at the Park District website or pay in person at the door. We also still have space left in our comprehensive master plan focus groups. If you're interested in participating, please contact me at snazal@winpark.org to be added. There is still availability on Saturday 11:16, Thursday 11:21, and Wednesday 12:04.
Thank you. Approval of tonight's agenda. Are there any requests for changes to the agenda? Okay, I see none. May I have a motion to approve the November 14th agenda?
So moved. Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's a voice vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Public comment. This is your opinion to address the board on any issue. When called upon, please come to the center position in front of the commissioners and stand at the podium. Speak loudly or into the microphone. State your name for the record and speak directly to the board. Based on the public comment policy described in the Board Policy Manual and referenced in Public Access Counselor Opinion 2024 PAC 81900, guests may present public comment for no longer than 3 minutes after being recognized. If you prefer to share your comments in writing this evening, you may do so by leaving them with a member of the Park District staff. Do we have anyone who would like to comment publicly in the front row, in the second row, in the third row?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Robert Smith. I'm a retiree of the Park District. Joining me by video, they're dialed in, is Libby Baker, who's also a retiree of the Winnetka Park District, and Mary Treveni. They've asked me to speak on their behalf since they couldn't be here tonight. They are out of state. Last month, we brought before the board an appeal regarding the health reimbursement account related to health insurance for retirees. And this kind of brought to a forefront kind of a cloudy area in a practice that's been in place for 21 years. Since beginning of this year, it's been proposed to eliminate the HRA for the retirees, the portion that's funded by the board and the Park District. And in our last discussion, we offered up some ideas that would kind of get everybody to where they want to go. I saw the proposed policy, and I'm glad you're taking it up tonight. The only thing I would probably add to that is I would ask that the board amend it to allow the current retirees that are kind of in the middle of this process to age out or be grandfathered in. And because as you'll see, there's only a few of us. Some of us are probably going to age out sooner than later. Myself, I'm about 18 months from it. I think one other person will probably age out soon, where this kind of gets the retirees, avoids pulling the rug from out underneath them, but also sets the stage for all the future retirees coming in. That's about the only thing we would ask of the board, is to grandfather us in if you do move forward with it. The presentation tonight, I did see it. There is a math error in one of them. It's listing me as retiree number 3. The actual, what's listed is 31,000 thereabouts, is actually about 21,000 in actual expenses. What's being proposed is what was budgeted versus what was expensed. So I just want to make that clarification that these are probably worst case scenario numbers that you'll see. Not every retiree is going to participate in the plan, so there's some assumptions in the analysis that I think need to be called out. So here again, we're just asking, please grandfather us in, and we just appeal to you for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we've moved from the first, second to the third row, the fourth row. Would anyone like to speak? Oh, did I miss you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, please. No,
I'm so sorry. I didn't see your hand.
You're up there, go.
I would say age before beauty, but I don't know how to begin.
I might win on both.
Yeah, exactly. I would say probably that's true. Hello. Okay, so I'm disappointed. So at the zoning board of appeals meeting, everyone took an oath to be truthful. And I feel like that the Park District really wasn't. So council, of course, kind of split the hair because council read a quote from the animal rabies control people, which is truthful. Based on the information that you have provided our department, we would not take view lake barrier as a violation of our current Dork Park ordinance. So yes, that is truthful on a technical basis, but I think on an ethical basis, it's really not complete because later that same administrator from the animal rabies control department clarified and said, quote, no affirmative permissions were intended by that statement. So to suggest that the animal rabies control people to the zoning board of appeals approves of the 3-sided fence is not true. Perhaps more troubling was when the Park District was questioned by the zoning board of appeals asking if the zoning ordinance for off-leash dog areas specifically requires fencing. And there was some guffawing, and ultimately the Park District said, no, it's really not a fence. It could be other things like rock piles or things like that, which I guess speaks to the idea of other off-leash dog areas that have been set up elsewhere along the lakeshore, which, by the way, have never been permitted. In fact, the IDNR has actually been trying to get the Chicago Park District to explain its fencing for like over a year now, because they, of course, put that up without a permit. And the Park District said, no, fence isn't required. But the Park District knows. I've sent you this. The Park District got the ordinance in a FOIA request from the animal rabies control people that, quote, a dog park must be completely enclosed by a contiguous fence. So, yes, a fence is explicitly stated. Now, whether that's right or wrong, or whether that should be changed or not, is a whole nother story. But the fact is, right now, as it stands, it is a fence. And to tell the Zoning Board of Appeals that it isn't seems to be wrong. Now, I've asked multiple times for you to explain whether or not the land swap's going to go through or not. And now I realize, you know what, this is all just misdirection. The ADA path, right? We're all excited about but the ADA path completely discounts the fact that a perfect path would take that ramp and take it down to the beach. But no, we put up a fence there. We put up a fence there because we put the dog park there. We put the dog park there because Ishbia wants to keep people out from his beach. It was gone in the previous iteration when Ishbia wasn't involved, but was going to get the land, and then later would have claimed the land that would accrete would be his because he didn't put up the structures and whatnot. The only reason that was moved back was because Justin Ishbia wants to privatize the beach. And it's disappointing that
Please
the
wrap
Park
up your
District...
comments, your time is over.
You know what? Last time, when other people talked for 2 minutes, you
Sir,
were
please
very
wrap up your
polite
comments.
and you didn't keep talking over them. You said your thing. I was almost done, literally almost done. And it's interesting to me that
Sir, please
there is
wrap up your comments.
it's interesting to me that the Park District does not apply its rules equitably. You seem to apply
Sir,
the rules
please wrap up your
to,
comments.
you seem to apply the rules to encourage speech you like, but to discourage speech you don't. So as I was saying,
Sir, please wrap up your comments, your
you
time
see,
is up.
last time when that gentleman spoke for 2 minutes over his 3-minute limit, you just let him go. So as I was going to finish up, if I would have, it just seems sad to me that the Park District is interested in helping someone privatize the beach rather than helping the public have access to it.
Thank you. Susie?
Thank you.
This hopefully should be about 1 minute. Susie Schreiber, Winnetka Park District resident, former commissioner. I, again, would ask you to reconsider the public involvement in the approval of the Elder Centennial large beach plans. There are some really good components that are within it, and there are some that some of us would like to see improved, including some of the safety issues. But please let the public have the right to decide, not just the members of the Park Board of Commissioners. This issue is too big and too divisive in this community now. It really should go to referendum. You can take care of the safety issues in water and still address in a proper way your plans for the future improvement as you see it for Elder and Centennial. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susie. We've moved through all the rows, but would you like to speak? Okay, thank you very much. That closes public comment. Our first presentation is the retiree health benefits, item 3.1, Beth Doster.
Thank you. So I put a presentation together for the discussion on the retiree benefits that came up at the last meeting. I adjusted the slides slightly based on questions that I received. So under retiree, you see I've added +1 next to people who still have a dependent, eligible dependent on the plan with them. And then I included remaining liability. So we have their years of service with the Park District, the number of years paid to date, the year-to-date estimate. Again, that had to be an estimate because we used to have a different broker who had all of the dollar amounts spent. But based on current use, in almost, if not exceeding or meeting the deductible, I had to use what was budgeted. other than this year's. So, but this year is not finished yet. So anyone who hasn't already met the deductible still may meet the deductible. So then there's that's the remaining liability for the duration of them staying in the current practice. Their total years receiving the benefit, that doesn't just include the retirees, that also includes their dependents that continue after them once they move to Medicare. So that is the potential total cost if they ran out and their dependents ran out up until they were no longer eligible.
And that started in 2004, you think?
That's what I understand. This practice started in 2004. So in staying exactly how we are, without a policy, without any guidance, there are looking at a 5-year projection for retirement, there are 6 employees who are either 55 or will be turning 55 in the next 5 years. I've included their current tenure, what the annual liability, and this is based on right now, if they have single or dependent coverage. That could change. And then what the total liability, not including what dependents continuing on with COBRA would cost. This is just what the potential cost for these 6 individuals could be. So there are 23 employees who are actually invested, or actually are vested in IMRF, which makes them eligible for permanent disability. So if we were to move forward with no guidelines whatsoever, anybody who remains on our plan while not working here could be eligible for the HRA. And so the liability of covering just one employee with a disability until age 65, in which they would move to Medicare, could be anywhere from $9,000 to $144,000. And then in surveying other park districts, the majority surveyed, 100% is paid by the retiree. Glenview, they have an HRA for their employees of $1,000. Their deductibles are higher, so a single coverage employee would have to meet $500 of the $1,500 deductible. But any dependent coverage, they'd have to meet $3,500 of the $4,500 deductible. So not as rich of a plan as we currently offer. So if you decide to create a policy and continue this, I believe there needs to be some criteria in there. I think this should be a plan for long tenured employees. This is a very generous benefit. So considering years of service, minimum retirement age, coverage eligibility, so do you cover dependent after on COBRA or not? And then you have to leave the park district on good standing. Like you can't have been let go for cause, or you retire because you might be let go for cause. And then, so my recommendation is if you approve a policy, that it be for the criteria apply to the current retirees and also future retirees. So the options are we continue as is, no changes. We do not fund an HRA for retirees. We establish a formal policy that defines the criteria for eligibility for this benefit, or introduce a low deductible PPO plan, because that was one option mentioned. or at least a retiree said, well, it's not their fault that we have a high deductible PPO. So if we offered a low deductible PPO, that would give them another option, and it would also give employees another option. So here, I did get a quote. So this is our current renewal. So it's the original renewal that came back, the negotiated renewal, and then the low deductible PPO is the last option. And that is the cost per coverage level. So I ask that the board discuss and give direction.
So this is our first reading of this, our first raising of this issue. So I just want to clarify a couple of things at the outset. Number one, this is not eliminating coverage for any retired employees. This is simply eliminating or potentially eliminating the reimbursement of the deductible and the high deductible plan. So everyone would keep their coverage. That's very important, whether it's under this plan, which is a high deductible plan, or under a low deductible plan. So I just want to make clear, because there was an erroneous comment in the board meeting last time about the difficulty for older people to get coverage. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a benefit reimbursing deductibles, number one. Number two, it looks like we have an articulated timeline and an articulated cost from now to the end of this existing plan. And then we have a second issue to consider, the policy going forward for our current staff members. Third and finally, we did just adopt two other, without knowing this, because this came to us, it was apparently adopted in 2004 without any approval from the board. And it came to our attention through the audit this year, 20 years later. So we have adopted two retiree policies for savings and healthcare reimbursement. And we have also been mandated to adopt a Family Medical Leave Act as well. So we enacted those in an articulated fashion to reward our retirees and give benefits. And then we found this was also lurking in the background. So that's the landscape that we're looking at here. I'd like to open it up for comments. I'd like to go around the room and give everybody one bite at the apple. And as I said, this is the first reading. We can ponder this and think about it. Jeff, do you want to start off?
Just a suggestion. Does it make sense to divide the conversation into talking about what we're going to do in the future for retirees first and decide what that policy is? Because I think I'm not sure if we want to discuss them hand in hand or if we want to discuss kind of what we would have decided 20 years ago and therefore focus on that first and then come back to the current retirees.
It's up to you. You can give your thoughts on the current group and you can give your thoughts on the existing group. Yeah.
Sticking with the future group, I think there was, Beth, you had put together a suggested policy. I was hoping we might go through that in a little more detail and talk to that. That would be my suggestion.
Sure. So Shannon and I discussed what might be appropriate way to build in criteria that would be fair but also fiscally responsible. And so the eligibility requirements would fall under a rule of 80. So that would be your years of service and age would equal 80. So then if the younger you are retiring, so if you retire at 55, you would have 26 years of service to get 10 years of this benefit, which is a very generous, rich benefit that as you can see, other park districts aren't doing. And so, and setting a minimum age of 55, not being able to retire before 55 and getting this. And then separation must be voluntary, and it must not be under threat of discipline. And then your employment status, it's only for full-time employees, which only full-time employees are eligible for the medical plan, as defined by the federal government of 30 hours or more per week, in a qualified IMRF position who are currently enrolled in the health plan. So right now, you can continue your health insurance, but if someone isn't currently in our plan and decides to retire, they can't just join. That's not a qualifying event to join, and they wouldn't be able to continue. So you have to currently be enrolled in the plan to be eligible for this benefit. And then full-time, so right now, or for anybody, full-time employees who retire early under the Illinois Health Insurance Act can purchase continue insurance through their employer. The employer doesn't have to fund it, they pay the full premium. So that would still continue. And then during the period, the Park District, so if you were to enact this policy, the Park District would pay for an eligible retiree until through the health reimbursement arrangement up to $2,250 for single user, or $4,500 for an eligible dependent. So same as it is right now. And then the limitations that would apply, so voluntary termination before you meet the eligibility requirements. And when a retiree turns 65 and joins Medicare, any eligible dependents move to Medicare, and it would be they qualify for 36 months under COBRA. And then the district would not fund the COBRA eligible dependents any further. And then, obviously, with any of our policies, the board and the Park District reserve the right to amend or make any changes to policies. We could discontinue the current health plan that we have. So that's what.
If I was to summarize correctly, at a very high level, we're looking at paying the same benefit, except there would be eligibility requirements to get that benefit, and there would be restrictions where you would not be allowed to get benefit. But basically, you would have a smaller group of people being applicable for this versus what it is today, where everyone.
Yes, I think to get such a generous benefit. So I've written myself out of this policy. If I said nothing, I retire early, I could have been eligible to participate in this. But I feel like to get 10 years of this benefit, you should be long-standing tenure. And so I think the rule of 80 means the longer your tenure, the earlier you can retire and receive this benefit for more years.
Thank you for going through that.
Can you go back to that slide that shows the comparison to other park districts? So of our neighboring, so if I'm reading this slide correctly, of our neighboring districts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, only one has this type of benefit.
Has any, so they don't.
Only one has this type of HRA benefit, and it's limited to $1,000 per year for this type of benefit. And this is not a retiree health care program. This is reimbursing for out-of-pocket expenses. So this is in addition to a health insurance program. We're not talking about primary health care coverage. We're talking about reimbursement for deductibles. Is that correct?
Yes, so this mirrors ours, it's just not as rich of a benefit. So they have a PPO, those are their deductibles.
What I'm pointing out is that We often benchmark ourselves to other neighboring communities that we can be competitive in the arena of both compensation and benefits. And in this instance, our practice for the past 21 years, which was not ever formally adopted by the board, is far and away the richest benefit.
Yes.
So I'm understanding correctly. All right, thank you.
Eric.
Thank you, Beth, for pulling together this information. I'm not a benefits broker, so seeing this data is super helpful. I am all for a fair and fiscally responsible approach, and so I think this is really compelling. But I would add, I just think that our staff, both current and former, is what makes our park district great. And I just fundamentally, at the most simple level, do not believe in pulling away benefits from retirees, full stop. We recently discussed during our budget process printing material to enroll in the programming. And in 2025, I think we budgeted $50,000 to print information that's going to be stacked in the ice rink and the table, the room here, and at the tennis center. That's $50,000 to print something. And we're talking about people and their health and their well-being. It's a fraction. So let's spend our money wisely, put it back in the people. I can't get behind eliminating this benefit. I'm sorry that it was put in place in '04 and there's no record of it. That's unfortunate. We presented these employees with something. I can get behind putting around those eligibility requirements. But let's not rain down on these people. They're good people, they're doing the right thing, and we have the ability to take care of them, and I think we should.
Cynthia.
I mean, I definitely am in support of grandfathering people who left the park district with the belief that this benefit would be in place for them. I can appreciate changing things going forward to be a little bit more clear, particularly in light of the retirement health care savings plan, because current employees do have the opportunity to plan and prepare. Just to confirm, for these other park districts, they also have the high deductible plans, all of them? Or is that?
Plans are unique to. Plans are unique. I mean, there's so many ways you can fund health insurance. I can't say that they all have high deductible plans. They may have low. They may have more than one. They may have HSAs instead of HRAs. They may have HMOs. Every organization decides what will meet the needs of their employees.
Colleen.
Beth, thanks for your presentation. I was going to mirror Commissioner Rapp's question on whether our neighboring park districts have high deductible plans. I would think that that information, even though they may be unique, would be available, and I think it's somewhat pertinent here. I share Commissioner Lusson's comments. Our employees are what makes this park district, and I also think we have to be very fair if we have retirees that left with certain expectations to yank a benefit from them. I just find it inequitable. I will ask Counselor a question. Is there an opportunity to create a plan where retirees, current retirees will, in other words, the plan will age out as they age out? Can you have a bifurcated plan where you have a different plan for those who have yet to retire, but the existing plan for those who are retired?
We can grandfather in the existing beneficiaries.
So the answer is yes, you could. Again, when I look at how we have spent money since my tenure on this board, I think spending money for those who do so much for this community and this park district is money well spent. So I'm with Commissioner Lusson. I'm not in favor. I do like the idea, though, of building in a new policy that is a bit more restrictive for those who have yet to retire. I agree with you on that. This is perhaps too generous a plan, so I do agree with that. Thank you.
And we have James on the phone. James Hemmings.
I have nothing to add. I think my commentary was captured by the last three commentators. I agree with particularly Commissioner Lawson's viewpoint. I also agree better be looking at a grandfather clause as opposed to rewriting something that's been around.
So it sounds like we have consensus regarding grandfathering the existing employees, and the total consideration in that is approximately $62,500, correct? Correct? $62,500?
From my perspective, yes.
Yeah. So we're talking, if it sounds like we have a consensus to support grandfathering the existing employees participating in this benefit, and the total amount of that going forward.
65.
Yeah, 65.
65,250.
Okay, 65,250, thank you. Okay, so it sounds like there's consensus on that. Okay, we can waive a second reading and take a motion and approve that now, or we can come back with a second reading if you want.
There's no emergency.
Okay.
I mean, the notice that the retirees received said that they would continue receiving the benefit through the end of this year.
Perfect.
So my only comment is, we're currently in open enrollment as
Right
we
now,
speak.
yes. Yes,
So
that's
if
the
if
urgency.
we are going to add a low deductible PPO for employees and retirees to choose from, I need
to know now.
do that now.
Yeah. Yeah, we have another meeting next week, so we can,
Okay.
we can go ahead and, we don't have to vote on this immediately, but it seems like there's consensus on that point, so I would get a quote on a low deductible plan.
I
Yeah.
handed that out.
No, I understand, and see if that is of interest. Okay. The second question is the policy for the current staff that has not yet retired. Any other additional conversations on that? Do we want to see a different draft of that? Do we want to make any changes to that? Because it seems like there's consensus on the restrictions that you've articulated. Anyone else?
President Coe, if I could, on the option for a low deductible plan, how would, my concern on that would, how would the HRA deductible that we fund, how would that work? How do you envision that would work with that low deductible? Because there wouldn't be as much.
No,
So we
and it wouldn't be
you can't
equitable.
have an HRA with a low deductible plan.
Right, so that would impact that if any employee or retiree were to choose that, then the HRA would no longer be an
Meaningful.
option
Right.
for that particular part.
So is there interest in a low deductible plan away from, as long as we're contemplating continuing this benefit, is there interest in a low deductible plan or no?
As far
In
as I
your
know, current
correspondence.
staff are very happy with the plan we have, and it
Okay.
is one reason that keeps people
Okay,
working here.
okay,
So if you're super healthy, you could come out ahead on a low deductible plan in terms of out-of-pocket costs, because your premiums are going to be higher, but if you're not really paying anything out of pocket, you don't have to meet that higher deductible. So
okay. Okay. All right, it sounds like we have some consensus on the restrictions going forward, and it sounds like we have some consensus on the grandfathering. So we'll come back and we'll vote on it next week without the low deductible.
Sure, so what I understand is that we'll take the policy, the draft policy that we've provided, and add in a grandfathering clause for those that have retired prior to the date of approval, to continue as previously, and then everything else in the policy is acceptable, no other changes or additions at this time.
I think that's what I'm hearing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Item number 3.2, fiscal year 2025 proposed budget presentation. This is the most exciting event.
Hi, everyone. We are starting with recreation, right?
Well, President Cotto, I'd like to mention that Commissioner Lusson has left the meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. We are going to start with the recreation department, and we'll go to facilities, and then golf is after us. Thanks for your patience. Okay. Within the recreation department, or the recreation fund, we have, I have the following departments here. So each, my team is going to each talk through their departments. So I'm excited to have them here. In starting off the budget, we're just going to highlight some of our successes of this year to kind of give a little bragging point of all the greatness that we did. Skokie Playfields exceeded budget for rentals and summer programs. We added some new programs this year, including our partnership with New Trier Aquatics for swim lessons, the nature preschool that takes place at Crow Island, astronomy programs, mindfulness class, and rowing. We added some new special events, such as family fitness days, the pup and popcorn, story times in the park with the library, and the new doggy egg hunt. And then we revamped a few events. We revamped our beach cleanup into summer kickoff event, and we revamped the 4th of July event, hosting it at Village Green. We also launched our Beach Safe Water Safety campaign this summer, and we enhanced beach and camp operations this summer as well. Looking ahead at 2025, we have a goal of reaching out to other area agencies along the shoreline to expand the Beach Safe campaign regionally. We're hoping that they also pick up on this. We're going to be adding some new features to our special events. In the brochure that just launched, we created a new mother-son date night, and we have a couple new contractual programs running. The next slide summarizes the fund overall. A couple highlights within the department as a whole. There is a transfer out of $690,000 that is going to support the Elder Centennial Project, and there is a $1.4 million Skokie Playfield synthetic turf project. So those are budgeted for this year. It is going to end, the proposed fiscal year will end the ending reserves within the rec fund at just over 2.9 million, which still meets the restricted amount that we have to have in savings of 969,000 and some change. The capital expenditures were reviewed at a prior budget meeting. This just kind of summarizes what operating capitals are budgeted within the rec fund. Before I go into each of the departments, any specific questions so far? Okay. Department 1000 is rec administration. So this department essentially is where the percentage of property tax that is that supports the rec department is taken in, and then the expenses related to the 1000 department are essentially a portion of full-time managers' salaries and insurance benefits, the cleaning service for the facility, copy supplies for the facility, all of the administration things that we do within the rec department. And then the transfers in and out are happened through this department to support the other departments to allow them to have a break-even budget. Any questions on 1000? 1100 is the recreation program department. This is a large department because it houses so much of what the rec team does. So between James and his athletic programs, James and Toby's special events, all of their staff's contractual programs, it's all in the 1100 account. So mutually, they all have a hand into this department, which includes our in-house programs that are listed up here, a chunk of contractual programs, all of the special events that are not at the beach, and then any new rec programs that are created get placed into this department. Within the Recreation Fund, we'll see some minimal fee increases. In-house basketball for next year, so next fall when registration opens, we'll see a $10 increase. We did comparisons to surrounding areas. Babysitting is a very popular program, but the fees for the kits and everything continue to rise. They will see an increase in $5. Last year we started no school field trips. So we just went on one today, so when the children don't have school, we entertain them all day long. The places that we go, those fees continually increase, so the fees for the trips will increase based off that. And then the contractual programs, they set the fees, and then we add our percentage onto that. The biggest change for 1100 as far as revenue goes is that we reallocated where different programs live, let's say. So in prior years, the kayaking and stand-up paddleboard programs were housed in 1100. For 2025, we've moved them, and we'll talk about this, we moved them to Department 1400, which is all of our lakefront programs. So the revenue's still within the rec fund, but it's just reallocated to a more appropriate department. We also saw a small decrease in sponsorship, but we're hoping that that will continue to grow. And beach special events used to be in the 1100 department, and those are now in 1500, which is the beach department. We'll talk through that when we get to that. As far as expenses go for 1100, the biggest change would be, or the biggest increase would be in the services expense, and most of that would be due to the increase in credit card fees. As more people pay with credit cards, we are responsible for paying the credit card company their service fee. So there is quite an increase in that. As we grow contractual programs, our revenue goes up, but then we have a growth in expenses as well due to more enrollment. Okay. Any questions on 1100? Okay, we are going to bring James up for the 1200 department.
Hello, I'm James, Recreation Manager for Athletics. As Lisa pointed out too, I oversee some of the contractual programming that's housed in 1100. So as we look at the athletic fields within Winnetka, we try to use every green space as possible, the turf. I do feel confident that we are meeting the needs and putting youth on the fields every hour possible. We are fortunate enough to have Little Duke back online. We are also fortunate to have irrigation systems placed out at Corwin this past year. So we're looking to see a lot of playability, increased playability, better playability for our athletes out there. Our partnerships stay strong still with our Junior Trevians football, KWA baseball, AYSO soccer, and Team 1 lacrosse. We also do value our partnership with North Shore Country Day. They're out here 5 days a week, all school year. Another highlight for our revenues is our Hot Shot Summer Camp. We do bring a lot of youth out here that's helping supplement our summer camps due to the lack of school space this year. So we'll see another great year this summer, and then we'll be back to an 8-week session. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. So again, highlighting just some of the revenues. We're looking to hopefully exceed budget for 2025. A lot of the operation is dependent on weather. If we're able to extend practices and rentals into December, we will. But also, inclement weather in the spring and fall months will also play an impact on those numbers. And then next slide. So looking at expenses, a lot of this is just maintenance and service. The more we bring out users, the more the service and expenses will be. But all in all, we've had a great year for 2024 and look to continue in 2025. Any questions as far as athletic rentals, field spaces within Winnetka? Great, thank you.
Thanks, James.
Try it, you're good.
Any questions, 1200? 1300. This is the department that housed the expenses related to the creation of the outdoor ice that used to be at Hap Park and is at Indian Hill Park. We no longer create ice at Hap. We do create ice at Indian Hill, weather dependent. You doing it?
You should be good.
Okay, thank you. So, in prior years, a portion of the recreation staff salaries is divided out into multiple departments within the rec fund, as well as a small portion of park staff is divided out into multiple departments. 1300 took a small portion of rec staff and a small portion of full-time park staff. The rec team reallocated our salaries to departments that we used more of our time and energy within. So it left a really small portion of Parks Department salaries in 1300, very minimal. So what we did is we reallocated that back to the Parks Department and including the minimal expenses that were for this. So essentially for 1300, it has been zeroed out. The salaries have been reallocated, and if it does get cold enough to build Indian Hill, that will be done by the Parks Department. Questions on 1300? 1400. Matt.
Hello everybody, Matt Barton, Lakefront Manager. We're going to go over the recreation department's lakefront funds, 1400, 1500, and 1600. As Lisa touched on before, we'll start with 1400. Used to be our junior sailing program department. Now it's all the lakefront instructional programs and camps that we have. That includes the sailing camp with Sheridan Shore. It includes the kayak and sup camp with Northwest Passage, and the new rowing camp we started this summer with the Row for All program. So go right into the revenues. Like we said, it was originally for the sailing program in-house one that we had. And it's now expanded to all our lakefront programs. So it's just kind of points that in that one. Onto the expenses for 1400. Really, variances is increases in the services due to the increase in the program revenues for all the contract programs that we have in there is really what goes on there. So we'll go right into. See if any questions about the 14 first. Everybody good?
No, I had a question that I thought of later this afternoon. Just in terms of supplies for the lakefront, like I know we purchased the mats last year for some, and I just want to make sure that we, from a staff standpoint, you feel that you have enough resources in terms of the accessibility items and then also any safety items like, enough lifeguard chairs, enough, rescue bands, whatever, that you feel that you have enough in there to be able to be effective in a situation.
Sure. Yeah, I know the ADA mat you're speaking of was, I believe, kind of out of an ADA account. But yeah, as we will, when we get into 1500 year beaches, you'll see we did have an increase in some of the supplies. And for a lot of those reasons that you just brought up, exactly, yeah. Which will take us right there at 1,500 is the beaches. And that's all our beaches. That's for our season passes, all our daily admissions, our dog beach pass sales, and then all the beach special events now, like Eliza spoke about, is used to be in recreation, 1,100 now. It's all going to be moved over into 1,500 for all the beach events that we do, which include our summer kickoff, beach cleanup, our beach carnival, our Lloyd Beach Bash, our end of summer luau, and our family camp out are all our beach events in the summer we do there. I will circle back. We are proposing an increase in the daily admissions for the beaches, a $1 increase for residents, and a $2 increase for non-residents, just for the daily admissions. And we're proposing also a $5 increase on the season pass for family passes, which we have the early buy. So if you do buy your pass before the May 1st and early buy, you're going to get the same pricing that you had this year. So that is that. We'll go into the revenues for the beaches. 2024, we exceeded the budget, and the 2025 budget is on, based off the 2024 actuals. The increase of the daily admission is just more for the attendance, increasing some attendance placements, and it's the technology that we're going to have placed with them. I'll go to expenses. For the beaches, obviously the increase in minimum wage, and also that we budget for operating every day. No matter the red flag or not, we're still on the beach staffed. If it's for a water quality closure or a beach hazard closure, we're still there to keep the beaches safe and staffed. So, also as well, the increase due to the special event costs for all the events we do, the lakefront security we have, and the water testing that we do year-round for Elder and Centennial. Any questions on 1,500?
Go ahead.
Matt, you mentioned technology for your attendance. Can you tell me what that involves?
Well, our attendants use iPads, and they use, and each iPad for daily admissions is tied to a card reader,
okay.
Which is something that we don't have to get every year. But this year we're going to add a couple of beach attendants in some spots. We'll have to get a few things. Sometimes the wind blows and knocks a $700 card reader off the podium and smashes into pieces in the parking lot. And things like that. So
things break.
Yeah.
And then as far as Moby mats and all-terrain chairs, what do we have?
We have the ADA Moby mat at Tower that was new for this year, and we also have the ADA chairs at each beach. We have a chair at each beach.
So there's a chair now at each beach. And then one final question. A couple years back, you and I talked about trying to do something where your launch attendants would also be able to see what was going on in the southernmost cove, because we had, despite all best efforts, constant swimmers there. And then there's always the excitement of when a boat's going out and here comes a paddleboarder. Have you given any more thought to that? Or is there any other better way that, we might have some sort of attendant observation where they could actually see something like that?
Yeah, we did talk about that. We actually talked to some of our neighbors about kind of their practice. The thing about us at Lloyd is we do have a pretty good vantage point with Lloyd Pier and the placement of the attendants out there being so far kind of out on the water. And then we also, so something raised up, some sort of high lookout tower isn't really necessary, and kind of, we kind of thought it might be a little dangerous when we're not around to have there. And also, we did speak with Paderma about some options about covering the beach as far as attendance and things. And, you know, it's a boating beach, it's not a swimming beach, so there's no lifeguards there, and the attendants and the staff there are not lifeguards. So to be placed out on the beach to watch people it's kind of a tough one, you know, because you're out there, you're looking, you're responsible. If you're not, you know, then it's, you know, the signs are up and this says it's boating, there's no lifeguards. So, you know, we just kind of play it as we can see it, and if it arises, we get down there as fast as we can to get people out and let them know it's for Boating Beach, and that's just kind of our practice for now.
Thank you.
So we'll go into the boat launch, 1600. The revenue here is going to be from all of our boat launch, you know, boaters launching in the boat launch passes, season passes, all the beach launch, all the paddlers, stand-up paddlers and kayak season passes, and then all our daily admissions for the boat launch and the beach launch. And all our rack rentals. We have a lot of racks which are filled up and to capacity every summer, so we get that going too. And all those rack rental fees and everything will remain the same for 2025. And then we have our fenced-in storage boats. We get revenue from those. And so with 2024, we did have one new lottery winner for the fenced-in storage, a 4-year lottery winner. And looking forward to this winter and to the spring for 2025, we will have 2 lotteries. We'll have one lottery open for a boat, slip, and or a jet ski, and then one spot in the cage there just for a jet ski trailer. So 2 lotteries coming up this winter. The revenues here for the boat launch. I guess, you know, the biggest variance, you know, we could see here is the season pass revenue was a little overestimated for 2024. So for 2025, we're a bit more realistic and kind of going off the 2024 actuals. And then, you know, obviously the dailies, you know, admissions can fluctuate due to the conditions. We had a pretty good amount of beach hazards this summer and water closures, so it's effective. Expenses for the boat launch. You know, we're increasing the supplies for the new brochure, postage and printing we'll have. And then the services will increase for the security and the dredging out of the launch that we do every year. Any questions on 1600? Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to grab the baton for the last leg of the rec department here. Toby Ross, rec manager. We're going to talk about camp. So obviously we're talking 2025 budget, but it is important to note a few things about 2024 as they are going to kind of spill over and impact 2025. This was the first year that I've ever been a part of camp where we had no space whatsoever from the school district, and that proved to be pretty challenging. Certainly impacted our operation pretty dramatically. We were able to get a space from Christ Church to try to limit some of that, but again, not quite as substantial an operation as we normally have. It wasn't all doom and gloom though. Camp was still very profitable. You know, $275,000 net revenue, 45% margin, and we maintained very successful satisfaction rate, 92%, which we've had for about over 10 years. Now looking ahead to 2025, still a lot of uncertainty surrounding what we're actually going to get from the school district. Going into this summer, they did tell us we would get something, and they would be able to offer us something more than what they did this year, but it kind of remains to be seen what that's going to entail. You know, how much space, what the timeline is. Their calendar is really wonky. They're still having school go late and start after Labor Day this upcoming summer, and so that's going to have an impact on our operation. When can we start and all that stuff. And then, as everyone has said and will continue to say, we are impacted by increases in minimum wage, supply costs, rising service fees, et cetera, et cetera. So looking at the revenue side of things, as I just mentioned, obviously we took a step back from 2024 budget. We needed to be, I was asked to be very aggressive in 2024. That was before we knew we would have no space. So this year is sort of under the assumption that we'll get something, not entirely sure what that looks like, but you can see that that is kind of the reason for the reduction. It is more than the 2014 actual, but still a little bit of a decrease on that end. Camp fees, just as a sidebar, increasing somewhere between 0.17% and 15%. Obviously, that looks a little high on the high end, but that only really equates to either 2 cents to $1.88 per hour, and that pretty much is impacted somewhat by the next slide, which is the services and supplies. Thinking back to what I just said, some of our younger programs like Kitty Camp, don't have a ton of services or supplies. It's mostly just the staff cost. Don't need to raise those prices as much as we would say almost anything goes, where we now know we have a facility cost, which is now built into that program to cover. So this sheet, things are a little wonky here as well. As Elisa said earlier, we did reallocate some things. Services, for example, on miscellaneous, that line goes from $400. That was just some miscellaneous things like cleaning supplies, or we broke something and we needed to replace it, to now include school fees and things like that. Part of my salary is now coming out of that, Elisa's salary, health insurance. So it looks a little awkward on paper, but the reality is camp is still very healthy, making over 40%, and we're still going to be transferring out money from the account to help support the rest of the rec fund and events and all that stuff. So that is all for me, unless anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Toby. I don't see any raised hands.
Great.
Nice job.
Thank you.
I just want to point out that everybody on every one of the commissioners had a pre-session with all of the people regarding these budget numbers, so they did have an opportunity to ask questions. Next up, tennis.
Good evening. Halfway through. Joe? I brought Joe on the forward slides for me and make him feel useful. Just kidding. Joe is very useful. Joe is my assistant manager, my right-hand man. Alexander Shubin is my left-hand man, so that's our management team at the Nielsen Tennis Center. On top of that, part of our story of our success is not just us, but all of our staff. We've got 14 coaches on staff that help us teach the numerous lessons that we offer throughout the year, 10 desk staff players as well for us, and 3 part-time maintenance people. All those folks are all part-time employees, with the exception of Joe, Alexander, and myself. Did Joe mess up?
I think when you threw it to me, it might have exited the screen.
It's not letting me go. Just let me know when you need to.
So we're going to scroll down.
All right, we're looking forward to our highlights real quick. Again, as noted, I'll just walk around and show you my slideshow. As noted, I know you guys have all seen the slideshow before, so I'll try to breeze through this and be brief as I can. For us, the highlights, if you could envision on that board there for the 24 season, was of course the success of our programs and the demand that we've met through private and group lesson revenues to exceed $2 million, which for me is one number that I had not seen in my many years here. The other one is a picture of one of our ladies teams. We have a USTA ladies team that plays. They're over 40 USTA team that played in the national event. They went down to Orlando this fall. They came back in 3rd place out of 2,900 teams across the country. So it was a pretty cool event for them to succeed in. Great bonding. They came over and presented us with a engraved dish that we put in our trophy case, and so recognizing those ladies and their accomplishments is certainly a highlight for them, probably more so than us, but our name is tied to them and their success, so we're happy to talk about those ladies and their success. 25, the big story for us that you'll see the numbers, and you've seen the numbers, is the repairs to our outdoor courts. Courts 1 through 7 were repaired last in, they're gonna come up on 23 years old since the last time we rebuilt them. And so we've repaired them, we've colored them over the years. They're just at the stage now where we've got to make a bigger investment into the long-term safe usage of these courts. And so that's the story for 25 for us that we're looking forward to, of course. I'm sorry, I'm standing so far away from the microphone. Annual debt service, when I talk about year to year, I won't be talking about it for very much longer, so this slide will maybe change. We will cut down the principal that we're paying after next year, cutting in half from 100 to 50, and then we'll have 2 more years and we'll wrap this thing up in 27. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel for us. Fortunately, has not impacted our ability to continue to grow reserves along the way, so really proud of our team's efforts in accomplishing that. And this is part of the story of how we've done that. This is just looking at a 20-year snapshot of the revenues and how they've really changed. And, you know, yeah, we've increased fees along the way here and there, not every year, but really it's been more about the demand for lessons and instruction, and that's the way that the building's been used, and that is equated to larger numbers for us. So just kind of shows a little bit of a story and historical data for you guys. Looking at, again, digging deeper at a 10-year kind of story of participation. This is for the fall programs. Just breaks out our juniors and adults and just shows you the trends of growth and, you know, just, again, meeting the demands of the public. Fee changes. So nominal increases again, offsetting some of the expenses that we'll incur with payroll that go along with teaching all these lessons. 3% to our indoor and outdoor private lessons and group lessons. Looking at increasing our court time for our members, going to 2%. So if you break that down for an hour, it's a 25-cent increase to a doubles group of players. So that might stop the singles players from coming in to give us an extra 50 cents. I'm not sure. We'll see. And then annual memberships, we're going to increase those as well for our residents, our non-residents, adults and juniors. We have last increased those in 2020, so it's been quite a while. My favorite slide of all, looking at our combined fund interviews, so our overview. This is between our outdoor and indoor tennis operations, so this kind of lumps everything together. We do operate out of 2 budgets, an indoor and an outdoor budget. So this kind of lumps them all together. You can see we started the year this year with a healthy fund balance of nearly 2.8 million, just over. And then really, you know, we are expecting to add more dollars to our reserves at the end of this year. This is just what we budgeted for the year. I think we're on track to probably exceed that a bit. So we still have 2 months left, but we're trending the right way there. So we anticipate that next year we'll start with a reserve balance of about 3.2 million, which is a good thing because the cost of our capitals next year, you see there midway down, will be in excess of $1 million. So after all is said and done, that will drop our reserves down. We won't add for a year, which we'll still be able to absorb and have plenty of dollars left in the reserves to meet the minimum reserve fund requirement. This slide just breaks down our outdoor revenues, kind of snapshots there. You can look at our budgeted numbers for private lessons, really are kind of the things that stand out when you look at 24 compared to 25. Again, those are budgeted numbers, not actuals for this year. So we saw a trend, a little flip in demand of private lessons compared to group lessons. Sometimes it's cyclical for us, so we just try to, you know, adjust as best as we can. I guess the bottom line is that if you combine the groups and private lessons, we're still driving significant revenues through our lesson programs. We are looking at, you know, tweaking our summer programs. I think part of that's just due to the school schedules that have changed. So we're just trying to find ways that we can still create demand and interest in working through some different ways of offering group lessons to folks throughout the summer. Again, looking at the expenses for the outdoor operation. Usually when the outdoor operation spends more than it makes, it requires a transfer from the indoor operation to offset that. We've been pretty fortunate for a couple of reasons. One, our outdoor programs have done quite well. We haven't had major capitals, and we've been able to absorb them along the way as well. But obviously, with the amount we're intending to spend this next year, it's going to require a little bit of a transfer from the operation to zero out the outdoor operation account. Then you look at the indoor operation, it's really the bread and butter of the operation. It's where we drive the most revenue. It's also where we spend the most dollars. And if we just, again, looking at really the revenue drivers are, again, really in the lesson area. We're anticipating strong numbers there again as we see the trends continue to grow. And we can only grow so much with the space that we have, so we're very creative. We're open as many hours in the day as we possibly can. And looking at our neighboring tennis centers in the area, our hours are opening earlier than them, and we're open later than them. And so we're doing everything that we can to give every opportunity for every player to have a chance to play. And I think, expenses. Don't want to forget about those. And then so, again, if you just kind of look at the increases, the major increases there in salary and wages, again, the 24 budget is what was budgeted. We see, more dollars going out, and so we're adjusting for next year and what our estimations are for this year, on top of the increases that staff are getting. Repairs and maintenance, we're trying to get a little bit more cost conscious, looking at historical expenditures. However, in our staff reports, you might have seen we've had a couple little repairs that were unexpected that we've had to deal with. So I'm trying to talk to Jim to help me up that back up to where it was. The last 2 months have been some dollars to repair some areas of the facility that were unexpected repairs. Transfer out is indicated there for the 2025 year, and that's to, again, offset the added expense to construction management that is in contracts services for the outdoor operation for next year. And then we have some, not only things we're planning to do outdoors, but we have some capital expenses scheduled for next year as well, indoors. So, including painting and windows and doors and things of that nature. And I think that is the last slide. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Taylor. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's gonna work. Nope. Forward, backward.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Schwartz. I'm the Winnetka Ice Arena manager. I often sit in the back of the room for the last 9-10 years, and I'm usually one of the last ones to go, so I get to ponder all the things I get to say. And I remember creating this slide a few months ago, and I put this together, and I realized that there's so much more of the highlights from the year, and it's stuff that you don't think about until you think about it. So I'm going to tell a real quick little story about partnership, which was a win-win for the Ice Arena this year. The Winnetka Hockey Club has been experiencing some low numbers. Okay, they're the lowest level of skaters, they don't have them. So we got together with them. And by the way, our concern is that they're gonna stop buying as much ice, which is our bread and butter. We got together with the Winnetka Hockey Club. We said, what do we gotta do together to grow the numbers, to build the bottom of the program? So we got together, we put together we revamped our beginner pre-hockey program. We got the Winnetka Hockey Club to buy into this program and provide the coaches for it. So now they're getting in front of their future skaters. While we did that, we were able to gain another day of ice. We have never, ever had group lessons on Saturday mornings. We've advanced to a 6th day of the week of group lessons, which we were never able to do because the hockey club was always so strong and boastful and needed all that ice. They don't need all that ice right now. We got to rebuild that program. So the partnership between the two of us, we were able to get together, revamp the program, grow our numbers in the group lesson program while they are buying in and growing their numbers in the future. By doing this, we've gained 2 extra hours of ice back on Saturday mornings that they were happy to release, but those are for group lessons, growing their program. We see the benefits from that. They will see the benefits from that in the future. The partnership there between the hockey club and the Winnetka Park District is so important. I often contend that they are our largest single source affiliate group revenue source with over $400,000 a year. The fact that we have this great partnership with them, that we're able to work together to benefit each other. It's one of those things that's probably just, that's all the highlights. That's it, I'm done. drop the mic, walk away. But it's one of the things that makes me proud to be here. I was once a Winnetka Hockey Club coach. I no longer am, but I was, and I understand. And I've been in this community since 2005, even though I started here in 2010. But knowing that these partnerships can exist with our affiliate groups, that it's a win-win for both, it's such a highlight for us. And you're gonna see as I go through the presentation, the areas that it's gonna highlight for us. So along with that, we're also seeing, because of that, our group lesson participation is going up. Okay, and I'll get into some numbers with that in a little bit. But we're seeing both more hockey players coming in. We're also seeing retention of those skaters that usually quit after they learn to skate. So you'll have that triangle. You got your beginners, the kids in the middle who think they want to stick with it and maybe want to do some figure skating in the future. And then the very top is our higher level skaters. Right now it's not a triangle, it's like I don't even know what this is. But it's doing this. We're thick in the middle, which is great. Our retention's been fantastic. Our group lesson program is really succeeding right now. Along with that sixth day of the week made us realize that we need to not tax our figure skating director for 6 days a week. So we brought in a skate school manager, which in a sense is an assistant skating director, a young woman by the name of Brianna Perez. She was a junior skater here for us when she was a kid. She skated through high school at our rink. She went to college, she came back. She now wants to be a skating director someday. So that succession plan is now in place. And we have another person there to help our existing skating director handle the 2,000 participant skaters we have every year. With all that being said, we're also able to, with the schools being closed this year, we had a 3-week break. We were able to take the ice down for the first time in 5 years. We inspected the floor, inspected the boards of glass. Everything's good. Able to put the ice back in time for our summer programming. Also, which I forgot to put on this slide, is we are putting a new sound system in the arena as well. It's actually going to be done at the 11th hour. It's going in during winter break, but it's going to just basically improve the sound of the building, especially for the ice show. For all those skaters that we have in that mid part, they're going to really get those tunes blare, so we know they're out there. Looking forward to 2025, we are going to, for the first time, we're going to host the ISI Regionals, which is a skating competition for the end of the year for ISI, which is the ice sports industry. It's the regional competition. We're excited to host it. It's March 1st and 2nd. It's going to be all day, every day. It's going to be a fun event. You guys should stop by. There's going to be a lot of good figure skaters there. Colleen, I know you like to watch that. So, and then we are also excited to bring in another summer camp renter, which is the Warwick Hockey Advantage. He told me today, not Academy, so that's my mistake. But Jimmy Warwick is the hockey director for Winnetka Hockey Club. And he is bringing in a camp that's going to serve the kids that are not part of the hockey club. It serves college players, junior A players. It could serve kids who are in a tier above what the Winnetka Hockey Club is. So we're going to advance our interests at the facility over the summer by providing for more skaters, which is going to provide for more revenue. So looking forward, I talked a little bit about the budget comments through the trends for next year. Our ice rental, our ice is what we have. We can only rent the ice that we have. But our group lesson participation, I mean, like I said, we're exceeding. We're going crazy right now. It's not in the slides, but I budgeted $255,000 for group lessons this year. We're at $316 right now. I mean, we're blowing it away. We're having a great year. And you'll see why that is advanced for the 2025 budget. We've bumped that number up because we know it's just going to continue. Like I said, from the earlier slide, the summer programs are doing great, and this is a very minimal capital spend year. So I've been spending the last few years. I'm going to give the coffers a break this year. Uh-oh. Taylor. Did I hit the wrong button?
That's cool. Give me 1 second.
Okay. We got my slides.
That is not it.
Trust me, I can talk all day. That's fine. Let's see.
Fee changes.
All right, so fee changes. We have not touched our non-prime ice. Our non-prime ice is after 9 p.m. on weekdays, before 4 p.m. on weekdays, before 8 a.m. on weekends, and after 9 p.m. on weekends. That's always been $200 an hour. We're just going to bump it to $225. It puts us in line with many of our competitors. Our prime ice, we are moving that up another $10 next year. Honestly, a lot of our prime ice is hard to sell because it's all sold to the hockey clubs. It's a good problem to have, but when spring time comes and we have some of that ice available, we're able to move that into a higher tier level, along with the winter break as well. And then we're just seeing a small increase in our group lesson program, not until summer. Our season is from summer to spring, so we don't want to do that right in the middle of the year on everybody. So we're going to do our increases in the summer, just like we would do our hockey club, or our Nutria Hockey Club increases would be at the start of their season as well, which would be in August. And an overview, like I said earlier, we're seeing a lot of our plus revenues in our user fees. More kids that are skating in the program, the more kids are renting skates, more kids come to public skate. We just see a real domino effect with all that. Like I said, capitals are quite low this year. And then just a lot of our operating expenses are just the same theme of stuff. Allocations getting moved around, minimum wage going up, salaries are higher. In the group lesson category because we have more kids, more teachers, more time. So, and like I said earlier, our contract rentals remain nearly the same. Like I said, we only have so much ice to sell. It's what we do with the other ice is where we make our advantage. I have a team that is innovative. They come up with great ideas. They create opportunities to provide an experience while we are able to gain some more revenue. So really happy to have that behind me. Like I said, the succession plan is in place, and so we have a real strong team at the facility now. And then again, like I said, I think I may have jumped myself there, but the expenses, like I said, are mostly up to salaries and some of the services. Any questions? Okay.
We're good. Very thorough
Right.
explanation. Thank you.
Oh, okay, I'll go fast with platform. Okay. Platform tennis is always considered to be a break-even facility. That is definitely going to continue to be the case. We do have all 8 of our courts fully going now, and it's, if you go look over there on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, they're packed out there. They're using it. Paddle players are passionate, and rain, sleet, snow, sign, they should all be postal workers because they will play through anything. So we're also really happy to continue our partnership with the North Shore Country Day. They have reduced a little bit their usage, but they still come at a time that nobody else uses the courts, from 3:30 to 5:30 after school. It's great to have them over there. It keeps youth programming going on the platform tennis side. And then the big thing that's been engulfing my last couple of months has been the heater upgrades on courts 5 and 6. They've always been not great heaters. I assure you they're going to be much better now. We've gone from having 8 heaters for 2 courts to having 20 heaters on those courts. So I better not hear any complaints. But that project is just about done. They're doing their final connections tomorrow and Monday. So we should have those up and running very shortly. And then just looking forward, it's a lot of the old same news. The Platform Tennis Club continues to be our biggest users group over there. They are the ones that provide all of the action over there. Big source of our revenue, and we continue to look forward to working with them every year to keep that facility, honestly, one of the busiest in the country, according to my maintenance guys. When I say my maintenance guys, I'm talking about the nationwide maintenance guys. They come to see us the most. Going forward, the fee changes, well, we're in the middle of just working on an affiliate agreement with the Platform Tennis Club. I believe details are coming shortly on that. Again, there's not many changes from year to year here. They remain pretty much the same. I have about the same amount of group lesson participants in our programs every year, which is about 75 to 80 a year. The only downtick I've seen this year is that nobody signed up for youth programming this year, no kids. trying to figure out why. But it's been a program that has been going slowly down, and then just for some reason this fall it didn't go. I'm hoping that the winter it turns over and we turn a new leaf with that. If not, we'll find other ways to drive that court time. And again, like I said, the revenues remain pretty much the same. WPTC drives the bus. We fill it in with parties on Friday and Saturday nights, and with our group lesson program, and any other little ways I can squeeze something out of the facility. I think I jumped that slide both times. It's the expense slide. I talked about it in the other one, but we've been there, so. Any questions? Okay.
Again, nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, look. Now we have golf. Thank you.
I promise it'll be exciting. Good evening. So I wanted to talk really briefly about the budget process that we go through at the facility and at the home office, so everybody kind of gets the understanding of what has gone on in the last probably 2 months during this process. Miles and Andrew and the team here on the ground really drive the budget process at the start, and they are the ones that are really zeroing in on a zero-based budget, looking at costs from the ground up, benchmarking against other facilities that we have in our portfolio, and then looking at historicals here at the Park District as well. So they've done a great job. Mary Kate and I support Miles and support Andrew this entire process. We have several touch bases and really reviews throughout the entire process before it gets to the formal home office budget review. By the time it gets to our formal home office budget review, we're really hoping that there are no changes on our side. Our accounting teams come down, our CEO, our COO oftentimes participate in these budget meetings as well, as they did in the Winnetka budget meeting. So it's gone through several phases, several eyes, and that's when we come and present it to our clients here, Shannon, Jim, and the Park District team. We did that several weeks ago, as you all know, and then we went back and revised it. We went back to revise it and kind of look at our revenues, our expenses, and really honing in on obviously wanting to make sure that we could limit the amount of transfer that had to take place. And the earlier draft that you all saw had a transfer, give or take, about $298,000. We worked with Jim and Shannon and Miles to really reduce that transfer to about $61,000 for FY25, and I believe that there will be no transfer here at the end of 2024. Green fee revenue for 2025 is budgeted at $1,533,000 and change. That's going to be up from a projection of about $650,000 for FY24. I do want to obviously draw the attention that we were only open for a brief period. I think we opened August the 12th of this year, but the average daily rate is going up about $4 a head in this scenario based on the 18 hole, not based on the 9 hole. Cart revenue is going to $320,000. That's going up, and on the average dollar per player going up about $3 on that side. Food and beverage revenue based on $7.87 per player, $320,000 for FY25, up from projections of _24 of about $90,000. I do want to say that we anticipate that we will hit these 2024 projections. This is based on really on a 10+2. Actuals through October and then forecasted November and December, and we took very, very conservative forecasts for November, December. So assuming that we have golf, which we do, we should be able to hit these forecasted numbers for FY24. And I think NOI right now for 24, I know We'll get into that next week, but I think we're 500,000 favorable to budget right now in 2024. Cost of goods sold, merchandise cost of goods sold is 70% cost of goods sold, which is really standard in the industry. 39% cost of goods sold percentage on food, bringing the total dollar figure to $223,000 for cost of goods sold. Payroll at about $1.1 million. You know, payroll is really, obviously we didn't have a huge staff in the golf side or the food and beverage side earlier this season. We did have kind of a robust staff on the course maintenance side as we were finishing the grow in. This does reflect on the course maintenance side 11 hourly employees and 3 salaried employees, bringing the total payroll to $1.1 million throughout the year. EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, is budgeted $553,000, up from a loss of $93,000 in 2024. When you lump in the management fees, the capital costs, etc., it brings a net operating income of $130,000 positive versus a loss of $500,000 in 2024. So when you bake that into the calculations, it does have a transfer of $61,000 for FY25, which was reduced from $298,000, the original budget that we discussed earlier. And again, no transfer. We don't forecast a transfer at the end of this year. Mary Kate's going to talk a little bit about the rates here.
Yeah, so here we show you our rates by different day parts and as well as by weekday and weekend. So what you're seeing, the minimum is considered our floor rate. That's gone up about 2% across the board from 2024, and then our max rate or our ceiling is the higher end of that range. So during the week, our main low rate will be 57 up to 65. On the weekends, 69 and 79. The way that we get up to that ceiling rate is a combination of, through our true demand system, looking at utilization, weather patterns, as well as historical booking patterns. So that's our changes. We do have twilight rates built in there as well for weekday and weekend. Below we have our range ball rates as well. So you see us going up $3 for a large bucket, $2 for a small, and then $25 up for our punch card for 10 large buckets.
And the range is really where the revenue was increased in order to cut into the transfer amount. It was in range revenue, $50,000 in additional range revenue, $20,000 in additional food and beverage revenue, and about $5,000 on the golf side. So we were able to raise the revenue just by the trends that we've been seeing, some increases on the range side, and keeping the golf rates under $100, which was what our goal was here. We didn't touch the golf rates from the previous version.
And then back in 2025 are the season passes. So these are our rates as well as a comparison to 2022 rates. So this assumes a break even of about 35 rounds for the year. And this is just for the 18-hole course.
Any questions that the board has?
I don't see any raised hands. It's a very good sign that our previous meetings have been fruitful and good. Thank you.
You're welcome. There was some question about expenses earlier, over $10,000 for the contract.
Mhm.
That the entire budget booklet has been submitted to staff, and we'll make sure all the updates are there for them.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, item number 4, new business. Yes, oh, of course.
Just a couple questions on the general budget process, not specific to golf. So we've taken a first pass through all the sections. Should we be expecting to see like a complete golf presentation with the new Kemper information in like the Park District golf format?
We can do that.
Like, are we gonna see a whole, updated pack before we actually formally vote on the budget? Like what?
So, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, on the rest of the process. So, we have scheduled for next week, the 21st, the meeting that we have on the 21st. We have our tax levy ordinances, and then we have a special meeting scheduled on December 5th if anything needs to come back, and then the budget would be adopted on the following meeting, which is the 19th. So if there is a need for anything additional, December 5th would be that date.
Yeah, you need to post it for 30 days too.
Yes.
So that posting date is?
So can it doubt? Because the appropriation ordinance has to be posted
Yeah.
for 30 days.
Yeah, okay.
The budget does not.
Oh, okay, good.
So to elaborate on an FMA, Shannon, I can certainly provide an updated slide deck that would encompass the entire budget. You know, we've seen it in different pieces through this point. I can synthesize that into one larger presentation for you to review prior to adopting the budget. I think that answers your question.
Yes,
Okay.
the last day for any takeaways that I have, or the last day for any discussion changes will be at the special meeting on 12/5, and then the adoption will be on 12/19, and then the appropriation ordinance will be posted when? Is that, you said that, and that needs to be out for 30 days?
So the budget is your business plan, sorry. Budget obviously is your business plan, and that's what staff needs to know to operate on a day-to-day basis. The appropriation ordinance sets your legal authority to spend money, and the deadline to adopt that is the end of the first quarter of the fiscal year.
Okay.
So, but procedurally, that has to be made available to the public for 30 days. And you have to publish a notice of a public hearing at least 7 days in advance, then have a public hearing. That can happen during the first quarter.
Okay, so if we adopt things on the 19th, the 30-day notice is happening after that? Like at some point, like,
I mean, we can have the ordinance prepared prior to the meeting on the 19th. It just can't be ratified probably until the meeting in January.
okay.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Okay. We're moving on to unfinished business, correct? Item 5.1, Elder Lane Pier and Storm Sewer Discharge. That's Warren.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Before Commissioner James begins, I have several questions. One of them is, as a commissioner, I'm somewhat curious as to why you are doing a technical presentation and why we don't have our staff member and also executive director. Why do we don't have our technical expert here, Matthew Wright? I certainly appreciate, Mr. James, that you have spent many, many years on this. But to me, this is not the role of a commissioner. This is the role of executive director and staff technical experts. Thank you.
That's fine. You may want to speak about this. You do have pertinent experience. You do have pertinent professional experience. You may want to articulate that.
To my
Yes.
knowledge, Commissioner James.
Can I have the floor?
Let me finish.
Colleen, you've made your point.
No, I want to finish. To my knowledge, Commissioner James is not a licensed Illinois engineer, and he bears no safety certifications that I can find. Perhaps you can enlighten me otherwise if you are both.
We did.
All right, I'm a commissioner of the Park District. I have 10 years, I'm in my 8th year as a commissioner. I have 37 years of development expertise. I work with architects, engineers, and planners every week. I co-chair the Lakefront Master Plan, which was adopted 2 years before you moved to town. I was interviewed and selected to serve on the Lakefront Advisory Committee because of my extensive experience and my knowledge. And when I hear dangerous and ill-informed information that is being propagated by yourself and others. I want to take this opportunity to enlighten people, show them pictures so that they can understand what the issues are and why we are pursuing the actions that we are. I would welcome the participation, but in the interest of our contracts and the the efficiency of the operation, I think a picture says 1,000 words, and I've received feedback from Matt Wright on this presentation. I asked Costa to participate as well. Costa has taken the evening off. So I would like to proceed through this because pictures are very illustrative. And next week, I'm going to show you pictures and explain why it's unsafe for people to be entering the water at Centennial. The pictures say 1,000 words, so let me proceed.
And I would clarify that as far as this presentation, this was requested by a commissioner. It was also seconded by another commissioner, Commissioner Lusson, as well as President Cotto, to be added to the agenda. It is not a staff item.
Thank you. The Elder Lane Beach Pier was originally constructed in 1947 by the Winnetka Park District. The pier houses a 54-inch diameter storm sewer pipe. The storm sewer pipe discharges storm water collected from more than 300 acres of southeast Winnetka. The pier and the pipe have both sustained substantial damage over the years. The plans for the concrete permeable pier were prepared for the Winnetka Park District by Sidney Makepeace Wood Consulting Engineers in 1946. The plans were approved by the Illinois Post-War Planning Commission on January 15, 1947. This page shows the plan and profile of the 54-inch diameter corrugated metal storm sewer inside the pier. The page also includes a section diagram illustrating the pipe inside the pier. The plan and profile in the lower center of the page shows a pair of 36-inch diameter pipes converging into a single 54-inch diameter corrugated metal pipe. The convergence occurs at the base of the bluff, underneath the concrete steps and the landing just north of the Elder Beach House. The picture in the center shows the existing storm sewer manholes in the bluff, immediately adjacent to the Elder Lane Beach House. The plan view in the top left depicts the two manholes shown in the picture, connecting the storm sewer pipes to the discharge pipes. The profile view on the top right depicts the two manholes shown in the picture, connecting the storm sewer pipes to the discharge pipes. The picture in the lower left shows the existing 27-inch diameter reinforced concrete pipe that connects to the 36-inch diameter corrugated metal pipe. That's the manhole shown in the picture that's closest to the house, just a few feet away from the house. The picture in the lower right shows the existing 24-inch by 36-inch brick storm sewer connecting to the 36-inch diameter corrugated metal pipe. The two 36-inch diameter corrugated metal pipes converge under the concrete steps and the landing just north of the Elder Beach House. These are the pipes that discharge 300 acres of southeast Winnetka. The plan above depicts two existing storm sewers that I already described, a 27-inch diameter pipe and a 24 by 36-inch brick pipe, which convey the 300 acres of stormwater to the discharge point at the end of the pier. The plan on the lower right shows the merging of the two 36-inch diameter pipes into the single 54. And the picture on the lower left shows the path down the bluff where the two pipes and manholes are located. And I'm sharing this picture so people can understand where those pipes are located and what damage would occur should we need to make repairs or replace those in the future after we complete improvements. The two parallel storm sewers run from Sheridan Road to the Elder Bluff beneath the existing paver pathway, immediately adjacent to the existing mature trees and the other infrastructure. The storm sewers are approximately 15 feet below grade. Replacing these existing storm sewers in the current location would be devastating to the mature trees and the existing infrastructure. The proposed routing of the new storm sewer intercepts the existing storm sewer near the intersection of Sheridan and Elder. And the proposed route of the new storm sewer is diagonally across the park to avoid the mature trees. And the proposed method and means of installation includes augering into the base of the bluff from the lakeside to avoid an open cut of the bluff. This picture shows the damaged end section of the pier resulting from decades of pounding waves. Parts of the steel and the concrete end section have failed, dropping debris into the lake, creating unsafe conditions. This picture, taken in 2024, shows the 54-inch diameter corrugated metal pipe inside the pier. The pipe is the primary stormwater discharge point for southeast Winnetka. The pipe, again, was built in 1947, 77 years ago. This picture was taken during the high water period, somewhere around 2020, showing a piece of the corrugated metal pipe that had rusted, broken off, and washed ashore. This picture, taken October 20th of this year, shows a section of corrugated metal pipe partially buried in the sand near the pier. Cloudy water and shifting sands make it very difficult to locate and identify debris that can be moved, buried, or revealed during storms. This picture was taken the next day, October 21st, 2024, clearly showing a section of corrugated metal pipe above the surface of the sand. Neither the Park District staff nor elected officials had seen this piece of metal before October of 2024. And so until such time as the Park District is permitted to search for and remove all the known and unknown hazards, the beach cannot be safely reopened. This picture, taken February 22, 2023, a year and a half ago, shows a metal pipe, chunks of corrugated metal, and other concrete protruding from the sand on the north side of the pier. And this picture, taken on October 20th, 2024, shows the metal grate from the end section. The grate broke off, coming to rest on the lake bed in about 4 feet of water on the south side of the pier. Until October, I'd never seen this grate before. It was revealed during a storm, which constantly shifts sand. Here's a close-up view of that same steel grate. It is a clear and present danger. It needs to be removed, along with the chunks of concrete. This is truly remarkable. This picture was taken on October 20, 2024. It shows a large section of reinforced concrete resting on the lake bed on the south side of the Elder Pier. I'd never seen this concrete before. To my knowledge, Coast had never seen this concrete before. It was revealed in a recent storm because the sand continues to shift. This precast section is likely from a failed concrete ramp that's depicted on the plan on the right. Those plans were prepared by Harza Engineering for the Winnetka Park District in 1987. So, Susie, you may remember how long that ramp lasted, but to my knowledge, the WPD has removed 2 similar sections of precast concrete in early 2023, and the whereabouts of the 6 other sections as depicted in the 1987 plans is unknown. So the Park District must be permitted to access the beach with larger equipment to search and sift submerged sand to remove the known and unknown debris before reopening. It's our duty as elected officials to safeguard the public. Yes, we have staff. Yes, we have consultants. I look forward to meeting with them. I've shared these pictures with them so that they can develop an appropriate approach to removing the debris. A couple other pictures. These are pieces of concrete, including 2 other sections of that precast ramp that were pulled from the water. And again, more. So next week, I'm going to share with you pictures of debris that remains offshore at Centennial. It's been there since the 1960s when the hospital facility was demolished. So again, nobody should be entering in the water off of Centennial until we can clear that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the pictures are very helpful, and I'm grateful for the energy and precision. We're going into commissioner comments now.
Before that, may we ask questions of Commissioner James on his
Sure.
presentation?
Do you want to do that in commissioner comments? or
No,
you wanna
I
do-
would like to do it as part of his presentation.
Fine. Everyone gets one turn for a series of questions.
Thank
and
you.
That's it. Would you like to start?
I'm happy to start. Commissioner James, I think there's some confusion. No one is suggesting that the public should have access to Elder in its current condition. I think the frustration that I'm hearing from the community is that nothing has been done to this beach for 4 years. I know that from a prior life, there are devices like magnetometers where you can go out and you can actually find debris in murky water through technical devices. Again, my question is, why, as Park District, have we not gone out and done that sort of a survey? And why are we not removing the dangerous objects that you have just described? More importantly, I've heard you say on 2 occasions we need to be permitted to access the beach and to search for these things. I'm very curious as to what is necessary for the Park District to have that opportunity to do that. What sort of regulatory constraints would there be that would not allow us to go out and maintain one of our parks? I really don't know the answer to that. So perhaps you might be able to enlighten me and the public on that question.
That's the role of staff and our experts to determine that. We have a plan that's been submitted for permit. We need a permit from the Village of Winnetka and the IDNR to remove the pier and to get larger equipment out there that can do it satisfactorily. So I look forward to hearing from our consultants.
Okay, that is to do the proposed plan. The question that I have, and this is a question to the executive director and staff. We know we have a dangerous situation out there. What is necessary to simply go out and to remove the pipe and the concrete to take away those dangerous obstacles?
We've been directed by the board to move forward with the plan that has been presented.
Yeah, I just add that, remember, the pictures that we saw from a year ago, we went out there last year and with the largest piece of equipment we could, and it took away what we knew was there. Those are the pictures, though, of concrete in the dumpsters. The new pictures, these were recently revealed. Every storm washes other things up, moves sand, and reveals other hazards. That's why we have to do a thorough search.
Cynthia, do you have any questions? Jeff?
No questions. I appreciate the pictures, though they are helpful.
James, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this point, we will entertain commissioner comments. We can go around. James, do you want to make comments first?
Only to add, I guess on the back of the discussion over, that there's an effort underway, of course, to have a conversation with President Vince, with the village, to further the discussion between the two parties with respect to the stormwater solution. And despite best efforts to date, have not been able to find the right time. Hopefully in the coming days, we'll be able to connect and have a fruitful discussion as we move that forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Jeff, commissioner comments?
The Winnetka Parks Foundation had an opportunity at the board to meet, I think it was about a week and a half ago. Not covering everything, but just a few highlights. Elisa led us through a nice deep dive of the lessons learned from the golf outing and how we can improve it next year. Talked about, as already mentioned, the skating event tomorrow and other potential events for the future. The other topic which I'll mention again, is recruiting. It is a 4-member board. They would like to quadruple that membership if possible. So if anybody is interested, you can reach out to me or I'm sure Shannon or Lisa, and we can get you to the right individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Warren, any additional comments?
Sure. To reiterate, I just made a presentation regarding elder beach hazards next week. I'd offer some further pictures showing the current conditions at Centennial and hoping to explain the efficacy of the planned combination pier and breakwater. Had some prepared remarks regarding public comment. I'll just abbreviate it to recognize that the right to petition the government is enshrined in our Constitution. It belongs to all citizens. Having served as a commissioner for nearly 8 years, I can attest that compelling arguments influence policy and decision-making. However, we want to make sure that we afford those rights to all members of the community, and we don't abridge those rights through our actions, which I've seen frequently done through intimidation and other actions that would dissuade people from speaking their mind. I want to talk about fact-based analysis. The Park District, its staff, elected officials, and consultants have literally spent years assimilating data from many sources to arrive at the plans that we submitted for permit. Are they perfect? No, nothing ever is. But having lived in Winnetka for most of my life, I've seen all too often that the perfect becomes the enemy of the good, and it grinds good intentions to a halt. I'd like to recite 2 points listed in the Winnetka Park District Board Member Code of Ethics. As a member of the board team, I will represent all those whom this agency serves, not just a particular geographic area or interest group, and respect and support the majority decisions of the board. There are roughly 14,000 citizens of the Winnetka Park District, which includes all of Winnetka, a substantial part of Northfield, a small part of Glencoe, and a few homes in Kenilworth. Our decisions here reflect the interests of all citizens of the Winnetka Park District.
Cynthia?
I do have some commissioner comments. I had wanted to follow up on the discussion on the wages and salaries expense. I know that commissioners have seen lots of emails going back and forth on this topic, and so I wanted to summarize some thoughts that I had, some open questions. I will say that when I obtained the staff bonus information recently at the end of October, I was shocked to see the amount of dollars that were paid out in staff bonuses. I mean, I was shocked. I had no idea of the amount. Thank you, Executive Director Nizal, for pointing out that on November 16th, 2023, there was some brief discussion in staff updates regarding the Net Income Performance Recognition Program. That program in its entirety was not presented to the whole board, and certainly not with any quantitative information, and it was described in that meeting as a small recognition. I don't consider a payout of bonuses of nearly $133,000 as a small recognition, and I think that we need to significantly consider our expenses in light of the merit increases that we give, as well as these additional lump sum bonuses. I would say personally, I'm very uncomfortable with lump sum bonuses being decided solely by the executive director and the board president, an elected official, with really no objective measures. And it's unclear to me why we have this when we have approved the merit compensation increase program. So I think that that certainly, as we move through the coming weeks in the next budget process, we really need to understand that a little bit better. I have consistently, asked for the OMA compensation summaries. I would say that the ones that I received in August of 2023 did not include any indication of those bonuses.
They then appeared in a later request in September. The earlier years, those bonuses never appeared in the magnitude that we actually paid out. So I think that we really need to consider this further. I would say that we are not a private equity entity, where we are paying large lump sum bonuses. We are a government entity with accountability to our taxpayers. And looking at the fee increases that were presented in the budget, we're seeing 2%, 3% fee increases, and we are having 4% merit increase, and then, as best I can tell, 4, 5, 6% being paid out on these lump sum bonuses. So I think we need to think a little harder about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Root?
I actually have two comments, and one is in response to Commissioner James. In an effort to represent all the citizens of this district, my comments with respect to Elder are the public wants a beach, the southern beach, opened. They want it open for the next season. We are at the point that we do not have our first village permit yet. And so I guess what I'm asking, and I'm asking this of staff, is can we look at a way that while we go through this permit process, because I'm not sure how long that's going to take, that we can remove debris on either Elder and Centennial, or that we can take Centennial and bifurcate it so that we can give our residents a South Winnetka beach to use. That's a question. I understand that we have a long-term focus on a plan, but again, we don't have our first regulatory approval, and we're nearly to December 1st. My second comment really mirrored, without knowing what Commissioner Rapp was going to say. I wanted to thank you, Executive Director. I know that you're still getting, your grounding here. You're new, but I never knew about a net income performance benefit. And I was somewhat astonished to see that the amounts that started in 2020, where we've gone from nearly $160,000 for 1 year to back in 2020, it was 42.2. This practice appears to have been started under former President Archibald during COVID. And I guess I want to reiterate what Commissioner Rapp said. The idea that a board president sitting with an executive director, and this is not you, Executive Director Nizal, this before your tenure here, but no elected official, including you, Ms. Cotto, as board president, has the authority to unilaterally decide on how taxpayer dollars are allocated. To me, assigning handsome bonuses without full board approval, and I'm not saying approval for each individual employee, but rather a pot of approval, is an overreach, and I think it undermines transparency and trust that should define our actions as public servants. So I hope moving forward this year, we're going to have that transparency, and there's going to be a full disclosure to the board. Thank you.
I believe we have that item
on the agenda for November 21st, so at which point we can fully describe the history of that and the process by which that was considered. You may recall that the compensation was against a backdrop of incredible turnover, very damaging turnover, very crippling turnover. That was a function of aggressive requests from staff, to the extent that some of them left the agency. And it was decided that before we did the survey that brought us to a 60% in the range, because we found ourselves at 40% of the recommended ranges for a lot of our positions. And we were creating a work environment that was very challenging, with 5-hour meetings and revisions to minutes and Open Meetings Act violations, because there were so many revisions to minutes that we were not allowed to post them in time. It was a very tense and difficult time in this agency. And so we did a compensation survey to understand where we were in the ranges. We did adjustments. We did COVID stay bonuses. We were in the process of adjusting at the golf course. So we worked through a lot of these issues with regard to compensation to make sure that we could keep and attract the quality of the talent that we wanted. That's the backdrop. The second thing I would say is that I'm grateful to Commissioner James for the pictures. I think the pictures are really important for people, and I think the timeline of the pictures is also very important. We took that debris out of the water over a year ago, and then in the past year, those pictures were taken. And we are now in a permitting phase, and the village is in our permitting chain. And so staging a debris removal with any idea that it would be complete, to spend the money to stage, to build an access road, to get big equipment down there, and then do a halfway job seems inefficient, because in 1 year, that additional debris accumulated. And to spend money to remove it to the greatest degree possible, only to have additional debris recur the next year, it seems ill-advised. I think the better plan is to go forward and truly build the access paths, get the big equipment down there, and do a scouring of that lake bed floor. Thank you.
President Cotto, if I could, really quick. So on the beach situation is, with that, we would still be required to get a special use permit with the village to do any work in that area, to remove any debris, getting trucks down there, anything like that. So we would still be going through the same approval processes through the village for that.
For maintenance, Executive Director?
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
have to have a special use permit for maintenance?
We got our hands slapped for trying to do maintenance of some invasives over there. So we had to look at that when it comes to any type of equipment that comes down there. If we have to do any sort of construction roads to get equipment down there to do any sort of removals, that sort of thing, to put up any fencing for restricted access while construction is going on for maintenance purposes. So we would have to look to the village for their advice on what type of documentation they would need for that type of purpose, which for all intents and purposes is a special use permit process. In regards to the bonus question, I have been working on this with staff and answering the questions of commissioners that have come up in regards to that issue as well. And I do have it prepared to bring forward on the 21st a solution to that, and the board will see that draft tomorrow in that draft packet. So just FYI on that, so you will be receiving that tomorrow.
Any other staff comments? Okay. May I have a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/section 2C3 for the purchase or lease of property, and 5 ILCS 120/2C6 for the setting of a price for sale or lease of property, and 5 ILCS 120/2C11 for litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent. May I have that motion?
So moved.
Second. Excellent. That's a roll call, Denise.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapp?
Yes.
Commissioner Root?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hemmings?
Yes.
Commissioner Cotto?
Yes.
That motion passes.
Excellent. It's 8:11. Let's reconvene into